This program originally premiered during the inaugural Spring 2024 final exhibition of student work at the Colonial Theatre in Belfast, Maine.
This is an interview that I did with a substitute at my school who I found to be very interesting. We were doing audio projects, and one of the options that we could have done was an interview with someone, and I knew immediately who I wanted to interview. I interviewed Mr. M, who is a substitute teacher at my school last year when I was a freshman. I feel like a lot of people definitely have some ideas about him, and not that they're untrue, but just that it's not entirely him. Mr. M has a lot of cool stories, and we'll hear some of them. There are a lot more interesting aspects to him that I think can help explain him better than just his stories that he's been telling. What's your name?
Legally, it's Matteo Maniscalco. I'm from New York originally. I was born in New York, but we moved away immediately, and I lived all over the world. Yeah, I've traveled so much in my life that it's become. I'm trying to handle it like people know that I've traveled a lot, right? That I went to a lot of places. Of course, it's meaningful, but I wish that I had a home base. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's fascinating and all, but sometimes I kind of loathe it because it robbed me of so many other things. But I kind of almost resent it because I have no sense of home and where I should be. My father was born in Germany, came over here when he was like 12, and then he became a citizen, joined the Air Force, and we moved back to Germany.
So what was it that you really wanted to do?
I wanted to be a soccer player, a pro, when I was a kid. Then we moved back to the States, and the town I moved to didn't have a soccer team, because in the States it wasn't as big as in Europe, and I was like, what is happening? Then I moved to Japan, and I played some more, and then I started skateboarding, the rage in this. In the 80s, skateboarding came around, so I was skateboarding, then I started playing drums, moved back to the States. Then I said I want to play soccer again, and it was kind of too late for me to do it professionally. Ultimately, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. That never happened, but coaching kind of was the highlight of my life like 2 years ago when I did it at the high school. You were there, I think. So now coaching is kind of becoming something that I think, because I'm older now and I can't be a professional soccer player. I play in a pickup league with people my age and younger. It's a mixed co-ed. And at the high school now, I think there's an opportunity for me to be a coach again. So I think coaching has become that thing that I really always kind of deep down wanted to be. So teaching and being involved in soccer or some kind of sport. Through coaching, I can kind of live vicariously through the kids. You know, winning or losing, like being involved around it. I know it's sports and all, but like there's so much more involved. You can change people's lives through sports if it's done right, you know.
You were a substitute teacher at the school. How long did you work there?
I was at Belfast High School for 2 years, and I got there because they created a job after COVID called an in-building sub, which was a full-time sub. So you show up to the building every day and you just do whatever they want, which was the perfect job for me because growing up, bouncing around all the time, I loved like just not having to stay in one place, right? My father was born in Germany, came over here when he was like 12, and then he became a citizen, joined the Air Force, and we moved back to Germany. And then we moved back to the States. I was skateboarding in Tokyo. And then we moved back to the States, and it kind of died out. I wasn't going with the trends. It's just I was in upstate New York, and it was snowing all the time, and I couldn't skateboard. So I started playing drums. So I got together with these two guys, and we had a three-piece band, and it was a death metal band. And we played like legit, slower, more melodic, and like about real issues. And it was meaningful to me. It was invigorating because we were kind of like underground, man. We were doing our thing. Not so much death metal. And then I started listening to Melvins and Nirvana. The grunge movement came around. And people like, grunge kind of gets a bad rap these days because it seems like a fad, but those bands were just rock and roll bands.
I was really into grunge music at the time from the 90s, so I was wearing t-shirts that represented those bands, and I had a lot of teachers tell me that they had listened to those bands and that they loved them, but I actually happened to be a little bit more educated on the bands than they were. But when Mr. M asked me about it, we happened to actually share the same favorite album, which was their debut album, Nirvana's debut album. And he knew more about them than I do, so I found that very interesting, and I wanted to learn more from him. So that was where I sort of started learning about him in the beginning, and where I wanted to learn more from him and about him. As you know, I'm playing music in the school band, and I think that one of the only reasons that I really joined the school band was because over the summer and the beginning of the school year, I was listening to metallic metal music. And then I started listening to death metal as well, and heavier stuff. And I started to realize the more technicality of it, and the musical composition and stuff like that. Like it's very technical, especially death metal and melodic death metal. Yep. I personally, like, that's one of the things that makes me want to still continue to play music and learn more about it, is just because it's so much more interesting than I would have thought in the beginning. And the skill for things that you might not think are so skillful.
They're incredible musicians, and if you met them all, they'd be like these technically, like these nerds about music. They're not like these aggro men, like or women making music about, hating things. It's not like that. It's actually progressive, amazing, innovative music. But I would love to hear what you're listening to at some point.
I was listening to Death, obviously.
Oh, the band Death?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I didn't, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was like the number one, Morbid Angel.
Morbid Angel, yeah, oh yes, wow.
Stuff like that. So
wow. That's incredible, because a lot of times people will say like Slipknot. I'm like, no, Slipknot's terrible, and they're not death metal.
So through his traveling, his sports, and his musical media journey, he's learned a lot of things, and he seems to me, at least, to be a very wise person. And he sort of has an end philosophy that he relates to himself.
If you get a chance, or when you do, look up the poem Invictus. But it talks about how no matter how damaged I am from so many things, I think one of the lines is, I'm bloody but unbowed. And in the face of all kinds of diversity, I still have control over things. And my life has been a really good life, but I've been through, like anybody, some traumatic things and some beautiful things. To sum it up, I'm trying to be the calm in the storm that is my mind. My mind is a storm, and it's a beautiful storm. It's just I got to rein it in, and when I start to focus and stay positive, I'm doing incredible things.
I feel like I definitely learned from him throughout all my time that I spent with him at school, and throughout making this interview, I found that I learned from him for sure.
Mr. M was produced by me, Torchlight Media, and Trinity Lyons. Music for this program by Lisa Andrews 666, DJ Chaos, and Eloel Bon Noy through freesound.org. Thank you to our interview partner, Matteo Maniscalco. Recorded and produced at the Torchlight Media Studio on High Street in downtown Belfast, Maine. The headquarters for our community-based multimedia studio, youth mentorship program, and media mutual aid site. We want to interview people who've never been interviewed. Is that you? Do you know someone? If you'd like to chat on the microphone or know someone who would, get in touch with us at torchlightmaine@gmail.com and tell us your story. Our website, torchlightmaine.com, is where you can check out all of our upcoming events, classes, and workshops, multimedia produced, and newsletter signups.